Hello and welcome to What's the Magic in Your Book? Live conversation with the authors of books that really rock the world. And today we have with us Dr. Bruno Cignacco. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much for your invite. I feel very honored. Thank you.
Thank you. And Doctor, you have written the book, The Art of Compassionate Business. You're a consultant, TEDx speaker, and a lecturer all the way from UK, London. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
We are going to be in a conversation with you. And as always, in our Go Global Business School, we have been communicating and really reaching out to authors around the world to see the kind of impact you are creating and inspiring others to do the same. So it's wonderful that we have you to share your inspiration with us today.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so let's get into the question. First of all, what inspired you to write the book?
Well, this is a very interesting question. I started writing this book many years ago, and this was a 3 year process, and this was originated by an article that I read in Harvard Business Review. The article was titled The Human Moment. And this article talked about how people can connect to one another in the workplace on a mental and emotional level. When I read this article, I was a bit intrigued and I wanted to know much more about this topic. And I started researching on companies that can be both profitable and human oriented. Because you see many companies that are only exclusively focused on profits. And according to my research, you can be both profitable but also caring for people, for example, customers, suppliers, employee, community members, and also caring for the planet, which means being environmentally friendly. And I'm very happy because the book has a lot of good understanding in different audiences that I deliver talks, and I feel that there is a new generation of organizations that are becoming much more compassionate. So I feel that this is very inspiring.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why your book also inspired us because we are all about conscious capitalism. We want to see how businesses can thrive at a whole new level, especially when it comes to businesses with a heart, what we call compassionate. You say compassionate, we say conscious, how to make the world work. Ultimately, business giving value and naturally profit becomes a byproduct. So that's a conversation. So we're definitely sold for your book and we so look forward to having that shared in the comment box as well. So now if we were to ask, who are your target audience? I know you have written it and the books. Is it for the new coming
Yes, the target audience is very varying. So, for example, could be managers, could be employees working for any type of company, small, medium-sized companies, big companies, any sector. Why? Because the principles are quite clear. I don't talk about so much about strategy or tactics that are important for business, but instead I talk about principles. Some principles such as generosity in the business environment, forgiveness in the business environment, gratitude in the business environment. And this is so important. You know why? Because in many cases, companies only tend to focus on what we call the key performance indicators such as profitability, productivity, efficiency, but they do not focus on other aspects that are non-economic but are as important as this parameter, such as compassion, empathy, support. And I observe that many companies have a quantitative approach on business. They tend to focus on what can be measured, what can be counted, such as sales, market share, profits, but they do not focus on what cannot be measured, such as companionship, camaraderie, loyalty, commitment. And we have a famous thinker that observed, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So we have to understand that you need both quantitative aspect of business, market share, sales, profits, but also you need qualitative aspect of business because business is about relationship. You cannot succeed in business without supplier, without employees, without community members, without business partners. And business is about the human being. Many companies tend to focus only on what can be measured, profit, market share, productivity, quality, and they forget the most important factor in business, that is the human being. Without relationship with the stakeholders, individuals and groups with interest in our organization, we cannot thrive, we cannot succeed. Instead, when we have the support from customers, suppliers, employee, community members, our business is more prone to succeed, to thrive.
Very well said. And this is so exciting to hear the kind of conversations you're having from that part of the world, which is, right now the world is really becoming so small and all of us are speaking the same language and all of us are coming together to speak as a louder voice. And that's so amazing. Thank you so much for that, contribution you have made. And if in terms of the book itself, right, it's out there. What are your plans right now when we look at in terms of the world, going into a new dimension, especially in today's context of challenges businesses face, as well as technology being invited in it?
Well, my plan for this year, is continue giving some talks and training on these topics. I feel that companies are very interested in these topics. There is not so much training on these topics, and I try to support my training with research because companies also want some knowledge that is research supported. So, and I feel that their companies are getting very interested in this. For example, I gave a talk recently where I observed that a very interesting point that was surprising many entrepreneurs. I observed that according to research, compassionate companies that have a compassionate workplace tend to bring about higher employee satisfaction, higher customer satisfaction, lower stress level in the work environment, lower turnover, lower absenteeism, and these companies also tend to be more profitable. So I like to deliver this type of training because I can offer a lot of examples of companies, organizations that have succeeded in being compassionate but also profitable. So this is my plan for this year. I continue delivering some training, some talks, keynote speeches, and also I continue researching. I always thinking about the new book and also delivering some consultancy activities. Also, I'm specialized in international marketing, but also on compassionate entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know that you have written quite a lot of books. You kind of evolved on your book journey for almost 15 years.
Yes. I have a previous book also that is on foundation of international marketing, but I observed that the previous book was a much more traditional business book because I was talking about strategy of internationalization, or for example, how to package the product, how to price the product. But in this new book, I have a completely different approach. I got away from strategic aspect, tactical aspect, and also aspect about controllable variables of a company like product, price, promotion, and place, but I focus much more on principles, on values, because you know what I feel? Strategies and tactics can vary from company to company, but the principles are perennial, are timeless. Companies that are acting in a benevolent way will succeed today and 20 years later. Why? Because these principles are timeless. So I try to, a new book hopefully will be in the market for many years and many decades. Why? Because the principles that are contained in this book are timeless. This means that can be applied by small companies, family companies, big companies, medium-sized companies, service companies. And this is interesting because companies focus so much on strategy, on tactics. Moreover, some companies use, I don't like, in some cases, companies use military terms. They use words like strategy, tactics, beating the competitors. This is not compassionate at all. And instead, there is a new generation of companies that they start using other words that are suitable for business. For example, caring for employees or supporting customers. These are words that should be used much more frequently. And in the media, you see so many examples of companies that are non-compassionate. For example, companies during the pandemic, I saw companies that are firing employees without compensation, or companies that are exploiting employees, or companies that are deceiving customers. But you have a new generation of companies that are being more compassionate, more supportive with customers, suppliers, employees. Some example like Patagonia, the cloth company, or Whole Foods, that is a company that sells organic and natural products, and others to mention, for example, DHL or any other courier company that are generally acting in a compassionate way. So we have to create these little ripple effects to bring about change. We don't have to wait for others to change. The change starts with us. And I feel that this little conversation that we have now, and really appreciate your invite, are bringing about positive change. And this change will have a positive effect on the world.
Yes, absolutely. And I have no doubt about it. And I just love the concept you said that it's timeless principles that stay. Like when I asked you earlier on also about technology, like technology is changing every second. And and everybody's evolving. And that is the to-dos, the strategies, how you reach out in business. Technology is an enabler. It just is a strategy. It can evolve. Those days Facebook didn't have live and now we're going live. So it is just changing so much. And it will continue to change. Whereas principles, like what you say, stays on and it's on and on. I mean, the basic fundamentals of human values, and that's what.
But that's very, 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 very true. And I want to highlight some principles are so obvious that they shouldn't be contained in a book. In some cases, I hope that in the future, the principles that are contained in my book are commonplace and common sense, and nobody have to talk about this because they are implemented by any company. Because relationships are key in business activities.
That's right.
And the relationship should be always long-term oriented. Relationship where the needs of both parties are satisfied, not only one. I see many companies that try to get all agreements that are win-lose. They try to get all the gains at the expense of the losses of others. This is not compassionate. The only way that companies can thrive is when they develop all win-win agreements with different stakeholders, with internal stakeholders such as employee management and external stakeholders. An example is when the company offer a product to customers and the product provide good value to this customer, but also the company get a good profit. So the company wins, the customer wins. But instead the company that try to rip customer off, in this case, the customer can realize that this company is being and they will run away from this company. So I always encourage companies try to focus only on win-win agreements. Long-term relationships are only based on win-win agreements, where everyone is winning, not one party at the expense of others.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think that's so valuable. And I want to ask you as we round off the session, what do you feel is the magic in your book? I know you've spoken a lot about whatever that you're doing, but what do you feel is the magic ingredient?
The magic ingredient is that I use the word love a lot in the book. I use love and business, love and business relationship. And when I presented this to the publisher, it's one of the biggest publishers in the world, the publisher was a bit surprised, but they welcome this text. Why? And they publish, obviously. Why? Because I'm not talking about love in the way that we know, for example, sentimental aspect of love that you feel for your family, your friend, your partner. But we're talking about a much more humanistic aspect of love, which includes compassion, empathy, support, care, generosity, camaraderie, and this can be applied to business relationship and non-business one. When you are loving to customer, you want the best for them. You want the best product for them. You don't try to sell the product that gets you more profit. You sell the product, you offer the product that is more beneficial according to their needs. And you don't focus so much on selling when you are compassionate with customers. You try to serve them. So you are a servant. And serving doesn't mean servitude. This means that you're trying to add value, to solve their problem, to make their life easier. And also, and the same applies to employees. When you are compassionate, when you're loving with employees, you try to pay a fair salary. You try to give good work condition. You try to recognize their contribution to the company. And when you do so, these customers and these employees, the customer will come back to your company, will recommend your company to others, and employees will keep on working on your company, will go the extra mile, and they can even suggest new ideas to develop new business projects, and they might even recommend your company for other employees to join. So when you are compassionate, there is a very famous principle, it's called the law of reciprocity. When you are compassionate, when you're loving to others, people tend to respond in the same way, tend to respond in a compassionate way, in a loving way. Instead, when you are malicious, when you are acting in a malevolent way, in a non-compassionate way, when you, for example, you are trying to deceive others or manipulate others, people respond they try to withdraw, they try not to cooperate, they try not to support you. So We have to understand that we are depending on others to do business. We cannot thrive on our own. I like to paraphrase a famous philosopher that observed, no man is an island. I want to say, no business is an island. This means
Yeah.
that no business can thrive on its own. Need the support from buyers, suppliers, employees, community members, the government. And this was mentioned by a famous thinker, Stephen Covey, the principle of interdependence. We are interdependent. We cannot succeed in business without depending on others. And this is good because they can help us and we can help them. So this should be reciprocal.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much. I think it's a very, very powerful and interactive and mind invoking conversation. And that's really important for us to have this kind of value given to our audience. And we really wish you all the best for the book, The Art of Compassionate Business. People can access to it. We've given the links on the chat box for people to access it, as well as when it goes on Go Global channel, we have it available as well. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone. We'll see you again with another amazing author.